Which one do we get today?
Do we choose color?
No, that one has a tint.
The Hyundai?
But no, which one?
That one's cute.
That
The
one?
color of it. The gray color of it.
Gray too. Pick.
I don't care.
Something in. Another one.
There's lots of Hyundais.
Alright, got them out.
The Hyundai. Oh, look at that blue stitch.
Blue stitch, huh? God. No format. Ugh. Morning, guys. As you can tell, we had another new camera person, apparently.
I was getting situated.
How do you start this Lamborghini? It's not push button, by the way. We had another early flight this morning, and I told you guys that we were trying to take weekends off, so here we are in LA with the wife and the new camera person. And what are we doing in LA?
Not buying cars this time.
No, actually we're not buying a car this time. Maybe, we don't know yet.
No, we're going to the pumpkin patch.
The wife's needy and wants to go to a warm pumpkin patch.
The pumpkin patch in Spokane is 20 degrees.
And figured while we were down here, we would go see Ronnie's new shop. So that is where we are gonna head to first. Go see Ronnie, say hi, show you guys the shop, and kind of take a break away from building cars today. So you guys will kind of go along with us. It'll be just kind of like a vlog, and we'll show you around LA. I do believe we're at the right place. We started finding some EVOs, and we got beautiful Ronnie's shop here. This is his new SpeedLAB Performance. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, sir?
Look at that, I see an EVO 10. Can we take this one home?
Use my wide walkway, please.
For my wideness to go through.
How you doing, sir?
How's it going, buddy?
COVID.
Breathe in.
Sorry, COVID.
This is COVID right here. We hug like brothers.
How you
So,
doing,
wanted to bring everyone to Ronnie's shop here, his great establishment. He just got his new shop up and running now.
Yes,
He's
sir.
now taking on customers. I know you got pretty full, but I'm hoping to show you guys a little bit about his shop and what he does. I know Ronnie's excited to kind of walk you guys around, show you a little bit about what he does. But What do you work on? It's pretty
Well,
apparent.
Lancers mostly.
The cars I'm not good at working on.
Yeah, so we work on EVO 8, 9s, and 10s. We do a little bit of GTR work. So I build VR38s. Transmission work, so the GR6s, we're pretty familiar with those. I own an 890 Supra, so we do a little bit of work on those. I started getting into that calibration stuff, so that's probably something I'm going to be offering beginning of next year. But for the most part, we're a full service shop. We actually have a mainline hub dyno. They're all-wheel drive 3200 Pro.
I'm jealous.
Which actually is going to be the only one in California, the only all-wheel drive mainline.
Yep.
And we put our order in about 3 months ago when the shop was, you know, when we got the shop going. It was before we even opened the shop.
Yep.
And there's obviously, it's like a 50, 60 business day wait period to actually get the dyno made. It's not, but the problem is when they ship it from Australia, it comes with a ship. Right, like a cargo ship, so it takes a while. It takes like another 8 weeks just for that. So hopefully by mid-December, before next year, we'll have the dyno. So we are a full-service shop. We build engines in-house, transmissions in-house, all the calibrations we do in-house here. What we're going to be doing in-house here right now, we're just renting out dynos for our customers. If they need to be calibrated, but we are going to have an in-house dyno. So our space is not very big, but we're really trying to.
They'll think otherwise. This is way bigger than the garage.
100%, 100%. So it's probably as the same. I want to say it's just as big as my other shop was, JRP Performance, but then we added another section, which was the dyno room, dedicated dyno room. So the dyno is going to be here, so it's going to be a tight fit, but whatever. I rather do quality work than take a lot of quantity. I rather just.
It's still good. It's probably what? I'd say probably 1,000, 1,500 square feet.
It's about 1,600 square feet. Yeah, so it's
still plenty of room. When you see the car, it doesn't look like it's that big in the place. I mean, it looks like you got plenty of room to work around.
Fit. I can make them fit.
We both worked in garages. I mean,
100%.
If you can work in a garage, you can make any shop work.
The only thing I haven't mastered is I don't know how I can stack 3 cars. I know how to do 2, but
I don't know. I mean, we could just export the ceiling, put lift on lift. Yeah. Well,
so. Do they know how me and you know each other?
I think the OG subscribers know, because that car was actually on the channel. But for those of you who don't know, me and Ronnie actually worked together on my EVO 9 that we had. I've always watched his videos. Oh, see, one for wife. This helped out a lot.
Brotherhood.
Yeah, we're here. Our thumbnail. So that's how we started working together. I started out with YouTube, watching Ronnie's channel and Boosted Boys. Those are my 2 main channels I watch. So believe it or not, he was one of the reasons I really wanted to try to do YouTube, because I thought how enthusiastic, I guess is the word that you'd use, for how he was about his work that was done, how passionate he was about everything. That's what kind of motivated me and have the drive to be able to share with everyone out there, because you have your surrounding people that can see it, but as far as going worldwide, I mean, it was just a huge pleasure to watch all his videos. So
that's crazy, because I really don't think wow, I'm humbled, man. That's crazy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't think I would have any influence on anybody, man. That's insane.
That's what I'll say for any of you guys, where you can have that influence on anyone. Anyone has that opportunity. Anyone has the opportunity to grow and learn. And I started out not being nearly as fortunate as we are now. My first car was a Honda CRX.
Of course, I had a Prelude 1989, so
couldn't afford gas. Wanted car parts all the time, so young and dumb decisions, and had to learn pretty quick how to manage money.
Yeah, I feel like people like me and you, though, that like don't start at the top, you know what I mean, with a lot of money.
Yep.
We're always the ones that are trying to share information, help people out, and you know what I mean. So
more apt to relate to everyone's situation.
Sure.
Instead of thinking that we're better, because we never want to come across that way.
Sure.
But that's where I met Ronnie. Was actually working with him on the car, and I can't tell you how excited I was, honestly, to work with Ronnie on the car.
Appreciate that, Josh.
The help that he gave me and provided, I was always able to get in touch with him. The issues with the car that I had were fixed immediately. So I mean, just the experience all around it made us be to the point where we are. We're good friends.
For sure.
So definitely,
absolutely,
I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man. I'm glad to call you a friend.
I want to drive everyone that watches our channel to watch his channel, because this is why I started. So if you guys can take just a free moment to take a look at Ronnie's channel and take a look at his new business here, SpeedLAB. So I will go ahead and put that over here for you guys, so that way you can check it out. But just give them that respect of we're watching the video, let's check out what he's doing and see what kind of drive me to start YouTube, because I think that it'll drive a lot of other people to be motivated.
I appreciate that.
But
thank you.
You have a beautiful place here.
I appreciate that, my friend.
I can't say that I'm not jealous. I would love to have my own shop. So
I'm sure
I'm definitely jealous, but I'm definitely really happy.
I can't wait for that moment. I know one day I'm going to get that phone call and you're going to be like, well, I signed the lease.
Will you come down?
It's a 10-year lease. Absolutely. I would. Well, you told me he has a guest room that's empty, so
we do.
I might just fly back with him today.
Chandler's watching this. I use that the most. Has California king size bed.
Oh, that's all I need. All I need is like a little pillow. That's all I need.
Breakfast in bed?
Oh, I don't even get breakfast in bed.
Whoa! Okay, let's jump into it today, guys. Take a look. Ronnie's just going to walk us around, show us a little bit about his environment. This is obviously a completely different realm than what you see on our channel most time with Subarus. But you can see we have a mixed Subarus, EVOs on the channel, a little bit of everything. And I want you guys to check out Ronnie's environment and what he has to offer, because this might help a lot of you that do watch for EVOs, because he does not only just do work here in California,
sure,
but he has, I'm sure you have your website.
Yeah.
Jump ahead. I know he has a website.
SpeedLAB.com.
And he'll be able to ship blocks and be able to help customers that way. So this,
sure,
take a look and see what you have.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I guess let's just walk over to this nice bench that we got over here. So I don't have an engine room. That's one of the only downsides, I guess, aside from the place being a little small. I don't mind. I always make it work. In fact, since the day we opened, not only have we been pushing a lot of cars out and getting cars in and out, but we've actually built about 4 to 5 engines, which is good because it's just me.
Yeah.
So the fact that, you know, then like it hasn't even been 2 months and we've already pushed engines out. So we got one of our short block packages laid out here, which I'll get into a little bit of detail.
I've always loved how you laid out the parts, the C, and being able to show you guys what is all used in one of his engines here. I mean, this is something that isn't always shown, so this is definitely an experience for you guys to see, and exactly to see what he does with his assembly. You know, obviously we're not going to go as far as going into specs, and that's one of the things everyone always talks about. You know, that's a chef's recipe when you have your specs, as I've taught you guys along the way. But seeing the parts that are actually used and knowing what's inside your engine is also very helpful going through this experience.
Absolutely. So this is EVO 89 4G63 short block that we basically have everything laid out, all the ingredients, as we like to, I like to call it.
These are pretty removable right here.
Oh yeah, they pop out. You're not supposed to just punch them back in, if you know what I mean.
For some reason, these little damn things will just never stay in the block.
You know?
He has a recipe for that. Don't you worry. He's the complete opposite of me of EVOs. You know, he can get them to live. I cannot get them to live.
Meanwhile, I can't even install injectors on the Subaru.
I don't blame it. That sucks.
I think I've done that once, actually.
Yeah, one time.
And I did a TGV delete one time.
Did you like the little metal
like,
plates that go over them, the guards?
I don't even remember. This was like years ago, but I'm like, this is the last Subaru I'm ever touching. I did it, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to. I'll leave it for the professionals. You know what I mean? I'll play with my toes, But anyway, so this is one of our. We call it it used to be Ronnie built the RB 900, SPL 900, SpeedLAB 900 is what I call it now. It's a steel rod short block. We rate these for 900 horsepower. The truth is, we've actually made a lot more. In fact, my white car, you know, when I had it at the other shop, IAG Performance, pretty much the same exact internals. I mean, some of the stuff we've changed, and I'll get into why. But you know, we made around 970-ish. We made like 860 on the Mustang. So I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's like 12%. At 12%.
I know exactly what power that is.
That was at 42 pounds on the 6466, and then on the street I had it up to around 4950, and it held together perfectly fine. And that was kind of like an R&D motor. And when I was selling that car, I pulled the motor, I parted the car out, and then one of my followers, actually a long-time follower, he bought the motor, so I refreshed it for him. So I tore the motor down, and I was just going through everything, you know, just that's what you want to do, right? Research and development. The only thing that I found was the rings that we're using, which are the regular MPR ring packs that literally every piston manufacturer uses, were annealing. So the top rings were actually closing the gap on their own, which is very dangerous, because if you, if you get into, you can get into a situation that they butt ends and it just, takes the whole ringland off, and obviously you're gonna have a very bad day or week or year, depending on when, if it's like February or
issues of ring gaps before, where he's talking about that, and this is probably one of our biggest things with building engines and setting them up for certain power ranges. But I've definitely experienced here before not having this ring gap set properly on a motor that was built by someone I won't name. But what this can lead to, like you said, you can have greenland issues that's widely known in the Subaru world.
Absolutely.
You can have sleeve issues. It creates hot spots in the sleeve from dragging.
Absolutely.
And I've ended up cracking sleeves of it before.
Yeah.
So I mean, that comes with it.
Absolutely, like you said, a whole heap of issues that you can easily avoid. Our issue obviously wasn't the gap going in; it was the gap coming out, which was very concerning. And I had to make a bunch of phone calls to different people. Diamond's been making pistons for me for a long time. I've purchased probably over 100 sets now for 4B11, 4G63, and so we've changed even this design. So this is technically the same forging as they offer. However, this is a full round skirt. And a couple other things are changed as well. So before I get back into the ring, I'm just going to show you guys the piston real quick. So this is a 10-to-1 compression spec diamond piston. So we got the horizontal and vertical gas ports. So we got the verticals, horizontals. So this ultimately, what the gas ports do is whenever you have that flame front basically pushing down on the piston, all that combustion pressure is going to get behind the top ring, and it's actually going to create a better seal. So your dynamic compression actually increases as you increase the power. So the more boost you throw at it, the more it seals, it's usually the other way around. So that's a very good feature to have on any piston. Really, it's worth, like a couple of horsepower. You're not going to notice a big difference. It's not going to make sense to take it out and put gas ported pistons and put it back in and be like, oh, I didn't gain any power. I gained 2 horsepower. Not changing anything. But it's a great way to increase your dynamic compression, and especially on these cars that we're running a lot of boost and we're having a lot of crankcase pressure and all that stuff. It's a great way to, I guess, make it a little bit easier for the motor to make power, is what I'm trying to say. Which that's what we want. Exactly. So that's nice coating. Correct. So this is a dry lubricant coating. So this is really for whenever the car doesn't start up for a while, you go start it. There's no oil on the skirt, you don't scuff it. This is meant to wear eventually. It's not going to last forever, but when you take it out, it'll look something like this. This came out of my red car. Maybe you can put like a clip or something of the dyno. So this car made 954 on my Mustang dyno at 54 pounds of boost. And mind you, this is a 10-to-1 motor, so that's a lot of boost for a 10-to-1 motor. And this is not even really wear, it's just coating wearing off. Yeah, you can't feel anything. There's no scuffing or anything. The rings still rotate freely. And we didn't have that gap issue here. I'll get into that in a second. So like I said, it's a full skirt piston. Other than that, really the only difference between this and the shelf piston is the pin's been moved up 6 millimeters, so it's for a long rod. Nothing special. The top ringland is special. It's a 1.2 mil ringland for this AP top steel ring from Total Steel. This is a tool steel ring. So these will take a little bit longer to seal up. It still seals within minutes, but it'll take a little bit longer to seal up than the conventional NPR ring pack. But these things will not anneal. So these things are pretty much the best ring you can, put on it. And they're expensive too. And the fact that we have to incorporate that groove makes the piston a little more expensive. So it's they're custom pieces. So every time I order a piston, it's a custom spec piston. They're all the same. All the stuff that I have on the shelf is the same, but they're all custom spec'd out. The pins, H13 pins. These are actually a little bit narrower than the 4B11 pins. That's why the 4B11 stuff, you can get away with a little bit thinner pins. So this is a 225 thou H13 tool steel, which has a tensile strength about 100,000 psi higher than the 9310 stuff that most manufacturers offer. And 225 is plenty. I mean, that's what I ran on my car. Didn't have any issues. I was actually rolling the pin yesterday to see. So a quick, easy test you can do to make sure your pin's not bent is to roll it. And you probably can't get it on camera, but if you roll it and if you don't see any light from underneath it, chances are the pin's straight. Obviously, you can put it on a little roller and put a dowel on it and make sure, but usually it'll give it away. That'll give it away. This will give it away, like the bottom portion. Usually on not on an aluminum rod you'll see gulling here, but on a steel rod you'll see the bronze bushing where. And same thing with the piston and where the pin goes in the bore. So as far as the rods, these are the Cali's Ultra I-beams. So me and Josh were actually just talking about these. I used to use the Manley stuff, and now I only use these and the Carrillo Pro H-beams. So the Pro H-beams are about 100 grams lighter than these, and they'll hold a lot of power.
Yeah.
So they're a great option, and I love the car bolt that they have, the 3/8 car bolt that they have. It's almost effortless for it to stretch. The first time you torque it down, you get the desired stretch. It's amazing. The workmanship of you know, the Carrillo stuff is just, it's just, I think it's still one of my favorites.
I've still yet to use one. I'm a huge Manley supporter, so that's what I've always used, but I've yet to use a Carrillo rod, and it's not that it's a bad rod, but everyone has
Kelly's Carrillo. Here, I have Carrillo.
I keep getting it mixed up with Carrillo, but everyone has their preference that you'll find with engine building and engine assembly and keeping the engines alive. But obviously it's a Carrillo, not a Callie's.
Correct. So this one is the Pro H-beam, which if you, at first glance,
it's kind of like the Manley H-Tough.
Right. It kind of looks like that, but it's not. The H-Tough is pretty good.
Right.
The regular H-beams were pretty crap.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but
really
these we've made over 250 horse per cylinder on a steel rod application with these rods.
Fun fact.
With the same bolts.
Manley H-beam, I had a lot of issues with those rods actually hitting the inside of the case on a super block when you bolt it together. Usually, sometimes you have to clearance the case.
Okay.
Manley H-Toughs, I don't usually ever have to clearance the case.
Is it the thickness of the beam itself?
No, it's actually the bolt. The bolt design is a little bit different. Bolt sticks out more and it hits the case. See, these have a nice short bolt on them.
Sure.
I do like that a lot.
So, quick comparison.
Yep.
I have a scale somewhere, but you can just take my word. It's pretty light.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like feather light,
yeah.
but you know. So great rods. So I either use these or these. It's just, I give the customer the option.
Yep.
Usually I stick with the Cali stuff now. So that's that. Other than that, all the ring packs are the same. Obviously we have a oil support rail that goes underneath the oil control ring. So there's 4 obviously for each piston. Yeah, so basically that's so the pin doesn't basically walk out on you, because the pin board does protrude into where the oil control rings
clips,
are.
Do they?
What clips? No.
What clips? That hold the wrist pin in?
No, you still have the clips. Yeah, you still have the regular wire lock, the normal wire lock.
First time ever seen diamond pistons, guys, so thought maybe with having that on there, it might not have pins to hold that wrist pin into the piston.
Yeah, so I'm making some changes. I'm working on something that I guess we can announce later, but great pistons. They just take forever to get built. Now with COVID and everything, the lead times are just crazy. So but yeah, great pistons, never had any issues with them. And as you saw, you know, I took it out of my car. You just got to be very careful when you're assembling with something like this, because see, these skirts are applied on, right? Yep. So they put tape and they apply it. You see all this stuff that like you can really feel it with your finger now. So what I do is I'll take a steel wool. So it takes a lot of time to prep these. It'll take me like an hour to go through all the pistons and make sure everything's good. So we'll take a quadruple 0 steel wool, and we'll hit the sides right over here, and we'll knock all those edges off. Because if we don't, and this breaks up in the engine, you're not gonna have a failure, but you're gonna scuff the walls. It's, you know, brand new motor, you don't want to do that. The freshly machined crosshatch is perfect. Same thing over here. There might be a little bit of like overspray, so you just want to make sure all that stuff is good. These pistons are machined beautifully, but you still gotta make sure the finish is good. So especially on the long rod stuff with the pin protrusion that I was talking about, sometimes there'll be a lip over here. So I'll take a super fine file, make sure I knock that lip down, make sure that you know, obviously if I'm shaving off a little bit of aluminum, make sure it's not going to stay in there.
It's the meticulous side, you know, the blueprinting of the engine going through. This is what separates builder to builder. You know, every builder has their technique that they do, or custom ways that they do things, and blueprinting ways. So having Ronnie be able to even share that stuff, that's even further than what I ever share with them. So that's what I've liked about his channel and learning. You know, everyone's open to learning. You yourself, you're never at the top of where you can learn. You can always learn from someone else. So being able to learn from Ronnie and seeing some of that stuff, it's definitely been a good time. But you have your finished product there.
Yeah, we have the finished product. So this is with the Carrillo stuff. So same pistons, as you guys can see, gas ports, same exact thing. So I just took the cover off. This is built for a customer that's gonna pick it up sometime next week. So I'm just gonna turn it
Assembly
around.
line.
Yes, sir. So yeah, everything, the stock crankshaft, everything's assembled already.
These things are so nice to assemble.
Yeah, they're pretty.
You don't have to have a split case.
No, you don't. Yeah, I don't know how you do that, man.
We don't get the engine stand side of it. I mean, they do make some engine stands where you actually can put one half of a Super Range block on, but I don't have one of those fancy deals.
For sure. But yeah, this is a finished product. It is a stock. That's a stock crankshaft. This is a stock crankshaft.
Yep.
The crankshafts are good for. We've made over 1,000 horsepower with the stock cranks, no problem. I've done it actually more than once. So what we do is, we put it on this nice little, I wanted to show this up, the good man crankshaft holder. It's an amazing.
Get you excited,
yeah, it's an awesome piece, man. I don't know. Every time I order like engine tools, I just get so excited. It's like, I don't know, it's weird.
Stuff too.
Yeah, those are beautiful. Yep. So that's a deck bridge is what it's called. I think that's what it's called. I know what it does. I don't know what it's called.
I can't tell you what it's called. So you got me there.
So we put this on the stand and we'll set up our dial to the middle and we'll spin the crank, make sure it's not bent. Sometimes you can have a Mitsubishi crank out of the, just out of the box from the factory that's bent the thou and half, 2 thou.
Right.
So usually what you got to do is you got to send it to the machine shop. Some machinists can do it, and what they do is they'll put a lot of pressure on the crankshaft, on the mains, and then they'll actually hit it with a hammer. But they'll heat it up and hit it. And what it does is it shocks the material and actually relaxes the metal, so it goes back into its original shape. And then what you do is you take the pressure off and you spin it, and usually it's back to spec. Obviously it's not something I can do here. You can't put it on a press and vise and do it, but yeah, that's what we check for.
That's pretty handy right there.
Yeah, right. If we can put another one on there, weld it,
dude,
then cut it after.
Put a drill on the other side.
Yeah.
Have a torch on the other side would be good.
Yeah, so this is where we measure this is also where we measure and take measurements, take notes. So we got our Mitutoyo micrometer, so these go down to the 4th decimal place, so 1/10 of a thou. And we were just trying to see variance. We're trying to see if the journal's ovaled, out or round, tapered, so and so, and then we take notes, and then we'll zero out our micrometer to our biggest journal, and then we'll take our dial bore gauge. Kind of a mess here right now. Take our dial bore gauge, we'll set it up. I'm just gonna do it quick. Not even gonna do a full demonstration, but let's just say.
This is good, guys. You're definitely learning on this.
We'll put the attachment that's the correct size, and then we'll put this in the micrometer vise, which is this thing right here. I'm not gonna do the whole thing, but
that's fine.
And then we'll put this in here, and then we'll zero this out to our measurement over here. And now when we take this out and we put it in the bore, whatever we're measuring, so in this case it would be rod bearing clearance, right? If we're measuring the rod bearing clearance, whatever number we get is the difference between that and that, so that would give us the positive clearance,
right?
Or if it goes negative, it would be interference, which is not desirable on an engine. So that's that. Rod bolt stretch gauge.
Yep.
Stretch the rod bolts when we torque them, and then we check the stretch. So torque's not even important, honestly. You can just, the stretch has to be proper. And then this also is a little bit application dependent. Like if you want to get a little bit too into detail with it, you can, because they'll give you spec range. So like the Carrillo stuff will tell you 5 to 7 thou, and if it's a race application, I'll try to be closer to the 7 thou to have more clamp. But if it's just a street application, it really doesn't matter as long as you fall within those limits that they give you. Another really important thing that I just wanted to talk about real quick is the torque plate. I don't know if you've talked about.
I have not talked about torque plate on the channel. And the main reason is because you guys see always the blocks that I normally work with are all from Outfront Motorsports, and they do have a torque plate, and they do torque plate every engine. But the nice thing is you guys are going to get to see the importance of a torque plate, so I'm going to let Ronnie talk about that on here.
For sure. So what surprised me is in the beginning when I started really getting into these engines and building them, nobody was talking about torque plates. In fact, a lot of people were not using torque plates, and they were running some crazy piston to wall clearances, which works. People have set records with them, but the problem with that is the engine starts consuming oil.
Right.
It starts clattering. It just you have piston slap, and it just doesn't run right. Right. The problem is when you machine this block, and you can have it on the guy's honing it. You bore it, you're honing it. You can hone it to your final clearance, and you can put your dial bore gauge in there, and it can be perfectly straight all the way up. No taper, nothing, no out of roundness, right? But as soon as you install those ARP 625s, right, and you torque this down to 100 foot-pounds, or in the case of like my red car with the half-inch head studs, almost 120 foot-pounds, right? What you're doing is you're trying to pull the material up. So what happens is when the cylinder head's on there and you torque it down, the block starts distorting. So the cylinder actually becomes oval. And what you'll find most of the time is the bottom of the cylinder will actually get wider and the top will get narrower. And that's not a really good thing because combustion happens at close to top, that center. So if you're trying to aim for, let's just throw some numbers out there. Let's just say somebody's aiming for 4/1000 piston to wall clearance, and you have 2/1000 of distortion. That's 2/1000 of clearance that you have on the top now. So you can see why that's a big problem, and that's why most of the time when people pull motors apart where they haven't been machined with a torque plate, they'll see a lot of scuffing on the pistons and all that stuff. And like I said, now we're at a point that we run these at about 3 thou now, 3.5 to 3 thou. I keep closing it down every time.
Me too.
And they don't seize up. No. They don't clatter. Like I said, you start up the car, it sounds like a stock motor. You wouldn't even tell it's has pistons and rods. And the beauty of that is that it can run for a long time. Right. So longevity and all that stuff. So this gets sent to the machine shop. You have to use the same studs and the same head gasket that you're going to be using during assembly, because all that stuff, that all has to get factored in. So if you use a different thickness head gasket, for instance, it's going to, change the distortion of the block. And they hone, so when they're boring it out, they don't use this, but when they're honing it to the final piston to wall, desired piston to wall, they'll put this on there and they'll hone this. Oh no, thank you, Albert.
What's your name?
Merci.
Okay.
He's Hispanic, he speaks perfect Armenian. I've always seen him on videos, I've never seen him here. Yeah, that's so crazy. Right? He's so loud too.
Yeah, I'm like, what's that?
That's our blooper, huh?
We got a great neighbor come by.
So, here, so it basically just goes on the block just like a cylinder head would. Nothing crazy about it. There's some reliefs for the dowels, like that. It's just a quick demonstration. And then of course the studs would go on there. So this is actually the thickness of your cylinder head. So where the stud would bottom out on the cylinder head. And yeah, this is what it does. So the reason I have it here is because I double check this to make sure I have the desired piston to wall, and that for a fact I don't have taper. You are gonna have some taper and out around, but how much is the real question. It's never gonna be perfect. So what we do with this is quality control essentially. So instead of having 1.5 thou, we have 1/10 or 2/10 of a thou, which is acceptable. So that's what a torque plate is. And all of these blocks are plateau honed, so they use super fine honing stones.
No, it looks really good. Cross-section is awesome. Yeah,
and this is why we don't necessarily need a 1,000-mile braking, because the rings are pretty much seated immediately, you know what I mean? Actually, I'm sure this is something that you can agree on as well. A lot of people will baby the car for 500 miles or 1,000 miles, and that's probably the worst thing you can do on a fresh motor. So what we do typically is we'll do a heat cycle with 30 weight, braking 30 weight, and the reason I say 30 weight is because you need somewhere to happen for the brakes to seat properly. So we'll do that. We'll do the heat cycle. We'll drain the oil. 20-50 brake in, and it goes straight on the dyno. Never had issues with it. Usually second, third, fourth hit on the dyno, climbs up on power, and then it just stays there. If you're making hits at the same boost level, same timing, same air fuel, and the power keeps on climbing, there's something wrong with your rings. It hasn't been seated right there. Something's going on. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's a finished short block over there. We got a cylinder head over there if you guys want to take a look at that.
Let's take a look. Ronnie does all his porting in-house actually, which is really cool. Usually you have to reach out to machine shop for a lot of what he does. I'm shocked. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Put you on the spot.
How's it going, dude?
You got Rob here. Look at that.
Got this.
Oh, look at that. That's the fastest rig here.
Dude, it's completely different though from like a normal car. So.
Well, it's a truck.
Well, like from a normal truck.
Got it.
Is that a 100 TRD Pro? Blows it out of the water. Completely blows it out.
Well, we are at In-N-Out. I get to have it for the very first time. Never had In-N-Out. These guys got me to come here. So we're gonna grab some food.
I've never had In-N-Out.
Really? What?
No.
Oh, you had us going. All right, we're getting some food. I'll catch up with you guys later. Sorry for the weird cutoff there, guys. But Ronnie went ahead and took us out to In-N-Out. My first time. It was actually really good, but I think Shake Shack still takes the cake for how good they were. Wife got a nice drink. Look at Ronnie's panicking. Tough guy.
Hi.
All full now.
Yeah.
Not In-N-Out.
Took a little break.
We did. A little bit of a break. I know we cut off at the cylinder heads, and we're running out of time, unfortunately, here. So that is the hard part.
So they flew out here literally to see me. Literally. And they're going back a couple hours later. That's true friendship right there. I don't even know what to say. I'm gonna shed a tear if... All right.
Let's check out this head. Since we didn't get any of what we talked about here.
Sure. So we do full in-house porting.
Yep.
This is an EVO 9 head. This is an EVO 8 CNC head. What I really want to show is these O-rings. So these are stainless steel O-rings that we put in this obviously aluminum head. The process for this is the surface of the head has to be decked, has to be completely flat. And then what we do is I actually have a fixture. BHJ actually has a fixture that we can cut O-ring grooves into this. We put a 041 thou wire in a 039 groove. So you have about 2/1000ths of interference fit. That's what holds the wire in there. Usually I'll put this about 5 to 6 thousandths on a MLS style steel gasket. OEM is what we use. And 5 to 6 thou is pretty much perfect. And what this does is when we insert this wire and it has that protrusion, once you torque this down, this wire actually makes a high pressure area around the combustion chamber. It effectively acts as a fire ring, or like a double duty fire ring. So this is very good for cars that are gonna see over 40 pounds of boost. So anybody that's really trying to make anything over 800, this is not necessary, it's recommended, absolutely recommended. So this is actually what we do on every single cylinder head now that we build. So if we build a long block, it gets no ring, it's just a part of the service. It costs about $300 more, so it's pretty cost effective for the benefits
that's not bad at all.
Correct. So this also gives you a little bit of leeway of, you know, if the tune is off a little bit, one of the injectors isn't fired properly, or whatever the case may be, you get a bad batch of fuel, you have a detonation event. It's very... It gives you a little bit more cushion for the head gasket to stay the way it needs to and do what it's supposed to do. So it basically helps the head gasket do its job and stay in place and not get compromised.
And really cost effective, because as you guys have seen on the channel, I like to use Athena gaskets, and even the Athena gasket is pretty expensive for an EVO. I mean, my Athena gasket shipped to my door was about almost 400 bucks. So for this service, 300 in the gasket, I mean, you're spending the same money, and this has been proven to work better than what I used.
What's up?
Hi.
Can we shut that thing off so it doesn't bug you every time?
Yeah, you can just... how do you turn it off? Just pull the gate up.
Give me a lighter, I'm using it.
Oh, there's a torch right there.
Where? Torch? Okay.
Sure, torch somewhere there. I don't know.
And cut.
Come out real quick and talk about that.
So now we're checking in some of the cars. This is one that you have built. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
This, actually, the car wasn't built by me. I tuned it and I did some modifications. Hold on, let me just open the door.
What is this? Sorry guys, once again.
The man's back.
Yeah, that ADT thing gets annoying, man. All right, so this car actually wasn't built by me.
Okay.
I tuned it when I had IAG Performance.
Yep.
Made about 670 on our Mustang dyno. He had an EFR 9174 top mount kit from Full Race. However, it was an internally gated setup, so we were touching about 42, 43 pounds, but it would taper down to about 37, 36 up top, so you don't really make a lot of peak power. They spool up pretty quick, so they're great turbochargers for the street, but it just doesn't make the power a PTE does. So this is a Sheepy Race Elite kit, forward facing obviously.
Very nice kit.
This is literally the best way you can get airflow. You get nice, cool, fresh air going into the motor. And so yeah, we did a kit for him. We're Haltech dealers, so we put a Elite 2000 on this car. We put a flex fuel sensor on it, so this is going to be a pump gas E85, any mixture, excuse me, whatever mixture he wants to put. We're going to calibrate this obviously on the Haltech. So we obviously sell it and tune it. Oil pressure sensor, fuel pressure sensor. The fuel pressure sensor you need for the volumetric efficiency calculations. So if you get a injector, pressure differential drop across the injectors, the ECU can compensate for that. So if you drop fuel pressure or whatever, it can actually notice that and compensate for that.
That's cool.
Very important, you know, it plays a big role. It's just like an intake air temperature sensor. You know, you need to know the air density essentially to deliver the correct air fuel, right? And then the oil pressure, for very obvious reasons, you know, God forbid you drop oil pressure, you spend $3,000, $3,500, $4,000 on an ECU and wiring and all this stuff. You kind of want to have a fail safe. So that itself, if God forbid something ever happens, is gonna pay itself, you know, twofold, threefold.
I see it has some nice tires on it too.
Yeah, he's got some.
What are these? Mickey Thompson R's? ET Street R's?
So he's gonna definitely need this now after doing all this stuff.
What other than that, they'll make?
It's a 6466 Gen 2, and it's a 1.15 AR T4. The 1.15s, anything over 1.0 AR makes a lot of power. Like pretty effortlessly. So around 40 pounds on like a Dynapack style hub dyno, it'll make like 800.
Nice.
We're probably gonna go a little bit over that. It's a 9-to-1 motor. Crazy thing about this motor is it actually, we used to rev it to like 9,000, 9,200. It still has balance shafts.
Really?
It's a built motor, but it still has balance shafts. So it's got a couple thousand miles on the motor now. So we're actually gonna replace the oil pump, and we're gonna do the balance shaft elimination finally. And that's another couple pounds that the engine doesn't have to rotate. You know what I mean? So it's basically freeing up horsepower, and you don't run the risk of having that little belt snap and take out the timing belt. So very important. So that's that. We're working on this. Sometime next week this should hit the dyno. We got a yellow EVO out there, and this belongs to that yellow EVO. This is a 2.2 liter, one of our 2.2 liters. It uses a custom 153 mil Cali's Ultra I-beam connecting rod. So it's actually like that, but it's 153 mil. Custom piston, so it's like a semi-long rod setup, I guess you could call it. And it's using a 94 millimeter billet Cali's crankshaft with the aero polish and all that stuff. It's a 6870. It's the S cover, not the H cover, so it doesn't have that ported shroud. And there's a 2.5 inch out instead of 3, but you guys can see it has a 60 millimeter wastegate, which looks pretty daunting, right?
That makes a lot more sense, because now I look at this. This is a T4 flange. This isn't T3.
Correct.
That's why I looked off earlier. That's why.
That's why you were like, it's
I thought this was a 105, but no, it's a T4. That makes sense now.
It's because of that. And yeah, so that's gonna go in the car sometime in the next 2 weeks. This is also gonna be on an AM Infinity flex fuel tune, CD7 dash, you know, all the good stuff.
This is beautiful.
This EVO 9 is here also for a Haltech calibration. We're adding a fuel pressure sensor because right now it doesn't have a fuel pressure sensor. It's a stock block, just head studs and cams, 272s, SKS 272s. Gonzivo Motorsports front mount turbo kit, 6266, 0.82 V-band. Great turbo. His goal is to make 520 horsepower. I think we're just gonna blow
I think that's
goal. Not the block, the goal. You know what I mean? So
unless it was me, then it would go right through the block on the front. With my luck and the block curse, it would go right through the block.
We're also doing a quick little fuel system upgrade, so we're throwing 1700s on there, along with a fuel pressure regulator, an AEM fuel rail, and that's going to allow us to, fuel rail is going to allow us to have a little 1/8 inch plug basically that we can put the sensor on and just get it straight from the rail. So it makes everything so much more convenient. And at the same time, he's gonna have the fuel pressure regulator, so we can have the actual gauge on there so you can see his fuel pressure.
So you guys want to see that? I mean, stock motor gonna get pushed to the limit, so you gotta check that out on his channel.
Sure, yeah, that's actually, so we're gonna start uploading more. I've been busy with the shop and everything, so it's kind of been hard to film, but I'm gonna do that. I was gonna film them coming here today.
I know.
Yeah,
we're kind of rushing it. I only gave him a day notice of him actually knowing.
But tell him the plan.
We got a plan. You gonna come up?
100%. So pretty soon you guys are gonna get to see that, and that I'll bring my camera. I promise.
See?
I'm actually not gonna forget.
So look at that. We're moving Cali to the northwest.
Yes, sir.
So if you guys watching and you tune, hit your boy up and we'll get you taken care of.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
We're gonna move it over and start taking over to northwest, right?
Let's do it, brother.
All right, buddy.
One state at a time, right?
One state at a time.
Yes, sir. So over here is David Lee's car. This is one of my 2.0 sleeved motors. So this uses a LA sleeve. It's a it's still like a wet style block, but they're ductile liner and sleeves. They're very thick. They're not like the Dart MIDs. They're a little bit different, but I like these over the MIDs, just preference. What we do is, these are actually CNC sleeves, so they're pressed, you know, they're CNC'd out and then they're pressed in. But what we do is we actually have our machine shop deck the block and then put the sleeves in, about 3/1000ths protruded, and then we deck the sleeves.
That's cool.
So it's essentially doing what that O-ring is doing, but it's doing it on a wide area, and that's why it's not higher than, you know, 3,000. So 3,000 is probably the max you would want to go, and we still use a stock head gasket. And
that's awesome.
These up to 50 pounds of boost, no problem, no O-rings, no nothing. So that's
you hear that?
Little trick.
50 pounds of boost on the EVO X daily driver
on a 10-to-1 motor, 10-to-1 compression.
You're not allowed to drive it though.
Whoa!
You blow everything up.
I'm initial D.
I'll come over there and
see, he'll drive it, so we're good.
And then you guys can.
You have to fix it again, because he can't.
Okay.
We just won't tell her when it blows up. She'll go out and turn the car on, and it won't turn on.
So, 9174 EFR full race, turbo kit, internally gated.
Yep.
They're great. They're a great option for the Evo 10s. They make a lot of power. They spool like a stock, almost like a stock turbo. That's a term I shouldn't use, I guess. People are gonna be like, "Oh, it doesn't fucking make full boost by 2,000 RPM."
Yeah.
He's on the Multec M130 John Reed Racing package. So the Multec's in the car. Let me show you guys.
Baller.
Very expensive option, but he's basically doing flex fuel. I got a custom wiring.
Oh yeah, look at that.
By John Reed. This guy's an absolute legend.
Dude.
Yeah, look at this, man. Look at.
Are you telling me this is what I have to look
at the Ray Chem
look at that.
heat shrink. Look at these boots. This is just as professional as it gets. Yeah, we got flex fuel. We got water pressure. So God forbid if he ever lifts the head, we can, you know, we can basically keep the head from getting the gasket from being compromised. Oil pressure, and then we got a fuel pressure right here, and then of course the flex fuel plug. Over here we got a LTC, so it's a lambda to can. So this will allow us to hook up a regular 4.9 LSU wideband straight into this, and from here to the Multec. So there's a DTM connector over here, straight to the Multec, so we can have reliable data via CAN. And this can do, you know, closed loop, obviously fueling, and God forbid fail safe if something happens and it goes lean. The actual bulkhead, this is 3D printed, which is pretty.
Yeah, this thing is cool.
And then this is a 130. Look at how small it is, man.
That thing is tiny.
And this thing costs like, you know, twice as much as any other ECU on the market.
Literally.
So, very expensive, but worth it when you spend this much money on the engine and the car. It's gonna, like I said, God forbid something happens, it'll pay for itself, you know, twofold, threefold.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty what we're getting. His super ready.
Couple A90s here.
Buddy Aaron, yeah, his A90. We just did a EOS. What do you call it? Torque injection system. So it has a nice billet plate that spaces it like an inch or so. And he's doing a E85 tune. Mike Bodie's gonna tune that car actually. He's a very good tuner. He's got A90s, you know, so low nines on stock motor.
Ambot works with him too. Look, I can't even talk.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I like
Ambot. If you're watching, I know he watches sometimes. I know they are working together.
Yeah.
So here's some
Mike is going to come out here and tune. Even though I tuned the A90s myself, I'm more, you know, I'm not as experienced. I've only tuned my car, so I don't advertise myself as a guy that tunes A90s.
Yep.
I don't know nearly as much as he does with this platform and EcuTech. So if I don't know about it, I'm not going to say I know, you know.
Yep.
Mikey's going to come down here when we have our dyno. He was actually trying to come here this weekend. But I don't have my dyno here, so we would have to, you know. But a couple months down the road, Mike is actually going to come down here, and we're gonna, you know, we're gonna tune some cars here. So stay tuned for that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Full walk around, full in depth for you guys. I know we're a little bit rushed on time, so I know I'm rushing Ronnie here.
It's all right. I can talk forever.
We both love to talk, so that's where we gotta cut it down. So this is gonna be it, brother.
My friend.
I'll see you soon. Yeah, come here.
Give me that Corona.
I know. I'll give you that Washington Corona. So that's gonna wrap up this video for you guys. I hope you really did enjoy it in depth. And please, like I said, go ahead and check out Ronnie's channel because he has a lot of content coming up. Big things coming. I mean, look at this beautiful shop. It's definitely gonna keep growing. So
yeah, thank you guys for the support. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. It means a lot.
It means a lot to me too because, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I started. So I appreciate all you guys, and until then, I'll see you in the next video.
Living life up in the fast lane. Ay. Living life up in the fast lane. And I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down. Living life up in the fast lane. Pedal to the